welcome, Matthew. Yeah, those new Ditto emotes. Those are so cute. I haven't seen those yet. I love them. The colors are so cool. Lurk. And that Pikachu with like the sunflower thing around its face. That's so cute. That's so cute. I like. Pikachu and Boba. Pikachu crying. That's so sad. No crying, Pika. So yeah, welcome to the art stream, guys. Welcome. We're gonna paint the word optimism today. It was part of a work project today, and I want to repaint it because I had acrylic paints and I did it really quick. But it's basically, this is the base concept for what I want to paint, but today I'm gonna paint it in oils over top of it, so I'm excited. Your Genshin is loading slow. No! You like it. I'm glad. Thanks. Hi, Desi. Welcome. Welcome to the stream, guys. Welcome. I need just a second to finish doing my shoutouts because I haven't let everybody know I'm live yet. So give me just a minute to finish posting and then I'll get started. Or at least we'll get started talking about it. Let's see. So how is everyone today? How are you, Desi? How are you? Matthew? Oh, videos. I'm trying to post stuff and I get distracted. You know how that is. Anybody else get distracted that easy? Come on, phone. Let me post what I want to post. I'm typing with all caps too. That's rude. Rude. Anybody else feel like all caps is rude? It is rude, right? It means you're yelling at somebody, right? Let's see. Let's do this. I hate it when I type all caps on accident, right? You're well. I'm glad to hear that, Desi. I'm glad you're doing well. So you guys know each other? That's cool. I did not know that. Or y'all have mutual streams you visit? That's cool. It's a small world after all. You never know who you're gonna bump into around the corner. Let's see. Next. Done. Post. I think this is the last place I gotta post. Hi, Monstrosity! Oh, a wild Nidoran, guys. If you need a Nidoran, catch it. I need to add a command to check all that and make sure. Ultra, what's up? Hype now. Are you, bro? You're gonna catch it. Michigan! Hi, welcome to the stream, Michigan. Good to see you. What is today? Today's Monday? Why am I streaming on a Monday? What is wrong with me? I don't know. Streaming on a Monday. Who knew? I want to poke check, right? Poke check? Can I poke check? Is that how that works? Oh, it's not registered. Then I need to try to catch it. Let's see if I'll catch it. Why does that just say poke catch? It doesn't say poke catch, poke ball. Have I been using up all my regular balls? Oh no. I've been using up all my special balls because that isn't set for poke catch. Poke ball. Oh my gosh. I've just been using any and every ball I have. Who knows what ball it could be using. I probably don't own any balls now. But I caught it. I need to fix my stream deck. Command. Poke catch. Poke ball. And then I'm gonna change the other one to poke catch ultra ball. There. Throw a poke ball, throw an ultra ball. I can't remember where to buy more Pokeballs for this game. Oh, you can buy them right here. You can just simply go like this. Poke, shop, poke, ball, 10. Just go like that. And you can buy more. You can also look down in the channel at the little box for the game itself. And in the box in the game itself, you can go to the shop and buy more. You purchased 100? Oh my god, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot of Pokeballs. Oh, Discord knows I'm live. Da-da-da. Let's go. The box I thought it was an extension that I clicked on your stream. Yeah, there's an extension down below the chat, a box below my stream, but as far as a side extension, I don't think I have that. Let's see. No. I have closed caption and prime subs as the little side thing that pops up. I'm guessing, you know, about right here. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see my mouse? I don't think you can. I don't know. Probably not. Do you have it sometimes? I've seen it before. Oh, interesting. Welcome, Crowley. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for the loves. Let's go. Hype. Yeah, that's such a cute hype. Alright, we're gonna like do stuff now instead of like stare at myself here. Ugh, time to get the paints. I have like this giant container of paints. Alright. So, goal is to repaint this. I painted it at work today in acrylic paint, and I'm not happy with the results, of course, so I'm gonna repaint the whole thing. And we're gonna do it in oil, because I just think it'll look so much better, and I'm excited about it. So I need yellow, and here's a pink of sorts, and definitely gonna need some white. This is like a massive tube of white here. You know, can't have enough white. Gonna be more low-key than normal, but I'm happy that I get to see the art. Aw, it's okay. I'm glad you're here. I hope everything's okay. Lurking is 100% acceptable, you know. It's still keeping us company. And then there's the background color. I gotta figure out how to make that. Maybe some turquoise. That might be the one I need. And then I think that's a good start to get the colors I want. And then maybe this color to deepen the colors. This is is usually a crimson color. Yeah, it's like a crimson blood red kind of thing. So we're gonna use that too. And maybe I can get this done in one stream. Maybe. We'll find out. You can wish me luck. Thanks for the retweets, guys. Retweets and reposts and all that good stuff. An excellent way to support streamers. Thank you. I'm back. Alrighty. Should be a relaxing stream if you guys gonna chill, work on whatever things you need to work on. Just relax with me as I paint and make things beautiful. And now I'm gonna look for my pliers because these tubes of paint are like really old and hard to open. Black cat ears, yes. Go grab them. Black cat ears. Black kitty ears. Meow. There you go, I got the spiky ones. Unless you wanted the other ones. I have the black spiky ones. Oh, and then I'm gonna pull this off so you can actually see them. There. And then I'm gonna put my feet in my chair like a bad girl, cause it's what I like to do. I like my feet in my chair. But yeah, there's a little bit more of a different painting approach. It's kind of a little painting, so I got it right down in front of me versus on the easel, and I kind of like it. The spiky ones are good, thank you. And now I'll get some white. Takes muscles I don't have. And this tube is a pain. I'm gonna put that over there. Now I have little two cat friends here to help me out. My little donut kitty. Meow. And my little taco cat. The taco kitty. So they're like just keeping me company today. They're usually on my desk. You guys just usually can't see them. I could put them right there. There you go. They'll probably get paint on them. Hi, Shane! 65 months, thank you! Thank you so much for the 65 months. Thank you for the lurk. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Happy Monday. Alright, then I definitely want a little bit of this pink here. Artist, hi! Drawing art with Kimono. That's awesome! You got your art stuff out. You're gonna do some art too? That's sweet, Matthew. That's cool. Artist, how are you? Do you have art homework to do, artist? Or are you gonna do your homework and lurk and watch? Paint something black and white for me while I study. If I had time, I would. This is actually for work. I had to paint this. I painted this at work today. We had to pick a word for the year, and I chose the word optimism.
Spicko cheered. X5. It still baffles me it's been this long, Lowell.
It does. It's crazy, right? It's been a long time, Shane. Really long time. Thank you for the biddies. And so I decided I didn't like it in acrylic paint, so I'm repainting it in oil. But we should do a black and white painting stream. It would be fun. Paint something black and white and ominous. Okay. I don't know what this is gonna turn out like. It may look just as bad as this one. We'll find out. Maybe not. Oh, I just realized this one actually says Bob Ross on it. If you guys want to see that. There we go. Where's the camera? It's like Bob Ross paint. I know. I don't know. I don't even remember ordering that one, but it's Bob Ross paint. You can't paint without Bob Ross, right? Oh. I think I ordered it because it was like the cheapest one online at the time, to be honest. And I was like, I don't want to spend a lot, so yeah, we'll put Bob Ross right here for inspiration. Bob will keep us inspired. I go, thank you, Bob. Thank you. Alright. Actually, I'll put that over there. That's probably gonna be too thick for those letters, but let's see what brushes I want to use. Something kind of big for the background. Something kind of small for the letters, but not that small. Or not this big. Maybe that one? Still seems... Ah! Now I'm dropping brushes. I'm just throwing them now. Just throw your brushes now. Just throw them. Throw them. Throw them out of your paint bucket. You guys want to see a crazy paint bucket of mine? I don't know if I've ever showed you. This is my paintbrush bucket. Can you see that? There's like zillions of brushes and things and stuff in this like old wooden bucket. It's really cool. Love it. Nice. I don't think I have an NDD. I use a coffee glass jar. Yes. Oh, I also, here's my forbidden pickle juice, you know. Forbidden pickle juice is actually the cleaner for the oil paints. Nick Dathy! Oh, optimism. That's what's good. That's what's good. We're painting. This was actually a fun work project today that I am repainting because I was not 100% happy with the quality. So I'm gonna repaint it today for fun. And hopefully it'll be dry before I have to take it back to work on Thursday. So I don't know. Oil paint though, so who knows? Nasty. Indeed, he was already registered for you? Oh, I don't know if I have it or not. Let's see, I got a little bit of green mixed with a little bit of that turquoise. Gives it even more of this turquoise color that I want. It looks so much better already. Oil paints just go on so much smoother and cleaner. I'm so spoiled. So spoiled. Oil paints have spoiled my life. Yeah. They just hold the color, and I wish I had enough room up here to show you guys what I'm mixing. Maybe I can rotate my palette too. Maybe I can rotate my palette a little bit so you can see me mixing colors. Because to me that's part of it. Just watching all the colors hit the canvas and watching to see what it makes. Leave that over here. Paint markers? Yeah, they're cool. I haven't really worked with them a lot, but they're cool. There we go. Now you guys can kind of see a little more. My mess. I love how I'm not the only one that recognizes every 30 seconds. Recognizes what every 30 seconds? I'm so confused. Oh, reorganizes. Yes. Yes. Reorganizes, recognizes. Words are hard. Oh my god. I have only had like 4 hours of sleep last night, so I don't even know why I'm live right now. But I guess I just miss you guys. And I needed to paint anyway, so I was like, if I'm gonna paint this, I'm gonna be live. I've been wanting to do an art stream anyway, it's been a while. I do. I woke up like, no kidding, in that 4 hours, I think I woke up like 6 or 7 times if I checked my phone. It was dumb. Six times in 4 hours and 20 minutes. Kimono no needs sleep, yes. Yeah, it was gross. Okay. It's okay. Gross happens. Oh, now that I did that, now you can't see the painting. Well, that's dumb. I have to decide whether you'll see me mixing paint or whether you see the painting. I guess you're gonna see the painting. Because I don't want to zoom too far out, and then you guys, like... not see it up close, either. It's like I want to paint up over the words, but... I don't want to have to worry about the colors blending together later, either. That sounds gross. The struggle is real. It is! Trying to figure out a layout for streaming art is like impossible. I swear. It's like I end up painting like at a very uncomfortable angle. You need to read some of your stuff and do some research, but you'll be lurking. Alright, thank you so much for the lurk. Thank you for being here and hanging out. Always appreciated. All lurks are appreciated. Maybe if I put this like on my front porch, it would like cook to death and dry fast. Think that would happen? Let it cook on my front porch. I don't want it that white, but maybe we do. I'd rather it be darker. I'm gonna put a little bit more yellow in it so it's a little bit more turquoisey. Even though it's called turquoise, it's like too much teal to me, like jaguar teal or something, so I add green to it, I mean yellow to it. Unless you have 5 cameras, it's difficult, right? The sun is hot enough to fry an egg on the sidewalk, right? I need at least one more so I could like have a camera just on the paint palette, and then I could stick that like up in this corner, you know? And then you could see the... Instead of just looking at my keyboard, that's just a keyboard. This is gonna look so much better. I'm already happier with it. Just the way it goes on the canvas, it goes so smooth. Covers up all the lines and the details, and you don't see the white of the canvas as much. It is pretty, thank you. I tend to water my acrylic more than I should. Yeah, because it dries so fast. You're always fighting how fast the acrylic's drying. Unless it's like a super watery acrylic right off the bat. Which I think is what I had dealt with today. This acrylic we used was like super watery, and it just wouldn't dry fast enough for me to be able to paint the letters pink and thick. I gotta work in small portions. Heck, ads are evil. Ads are evil. They're so evil. I wonder what I should paint up in this top corner. Maybe just some color or something when I get to that point. Like, when I get done doing this turquoise stuff. Might make this a little greener. Kind of like the green to turquoise happening. And then we're gonna put it on its end and paint the edge. Ta-da! Welcome back, welcome back. Ads are evil. I'm glad you survived. I think I'm gonna avoid putting paint like right here where my two fingers are holding this canvas steady until like the end, because I don't want to have to like, I want a place to hang on to the canvas. Like, no, I'm not allowed to paint that spot yet. We're gonna add some brushy strokes in here. I tend to do the sides last. I usually do too, and then it just looks like a hot mess because I'll literally take I'll let it dry if I have time, and then use painter's tape along the edge of the painting and then paint the sides. So there's like this perfect edge. And if it's not perfect, after I pull the painter's tape off, I just run my finger lightly to blend the edge. I'll just run my finger lightly on each edge, but I use the painter tapes to do the edge if I have time. I don't think I'm gonna have time for this piece though. Let's see. So we did this project at work today, and we had to each pick a word to like work on this year or that inspires us for the year. And so I picked optimism because I'm trying to be more optimistic about work and the direction things are going at work and just everything and the team working together better and all that kind of stuff. So I picked optimism as my word. But the whole team is picking words. So each person had a word to paint today, and the leadership team did. And then Thursday, the rest of the team gets to pick their word and do their paintings. But when they're all done, I've been tasked with taking everybody's words and making a big painting with all of our words on it. So I may paint that live too. So it'll be interesting. I don't use the tape, but I use the finger technique. Yeah. Yeah, it'll be fun to see. Because I'll have to do that. But I'm thinking about doing like more of a multimedia piece and like bringing in my graphic design skills and printing out the words in different fonts and graphic design and then putting them on the piece and like painting them, and maybe, who knows, maybe I want to do like the old Mosh Podge newspaper thing and put newspaper and stuff. I don't know yet. I gotta figure out what I want to do. What's gonna look good in the office, because I'm sure they're gonna hang it on the wall. Alright, let's take this ink that's behind my photo face. You know, I wonder if I just... should I move my face? Ah, that's not what I meant to click on. Maybe if I could just move my face out of the way. I'm messing up everything. I didn't realize there was a frame there. Whoops. Oh, so often I'm not rearranging my desk artist. Now I'm rearranging my stream. I just can't leave well enough alone. I can't leave anything alone, apparently. There. I wonder how big that can get. There we go. Now I have like my rotating watermark. Is that the right watermark? No. I'm just unlocking all the things. There we go. We're just gonna change the whole stream setup. Who knows? Who knows what's going on here? I don't. There we go. Alright. Okay. It reminds me I need to fix the stability of my desktop. Ads are annoying. Why does Twitch need them? Because they want their money. Twitch is my money now. Gotta get back to work. Alright, no problem. Yeah, Twitch is bad. The only thing to get around it is if you have Prime subs floating around there you're not using. Don't forget to use those on your streams. Use those on the streams you visit. Me and Amazon are no longer speaking. I mean, you're on Twitch. Technically, you're talking to Amazon right now. But we won't talk about that. We won't talk about that. Oh. You know, I can pull this camera down and bigger. You know, and then pull it over. I'm just making a mess everywhere. I should quit. I should quit while I'm ahead. We're gonna spend all night just rearranging my stream. They betrayed me. I'm so sorry to hear that. I am sorry to hear that. Alright, we're gonna use this big pink. This big white brush to make pink stuff. And of course, I mix just off the stream. Yeah, there's just like no room. There's not enough room up here. As you guys can tell, there's not enough room up here because my keyboard is up here, like above the painting. Like artist said, the challenges are real. Challenges are real. Just wanted to see what this looks like. Adding just some Random streaks of color. I kind of feel like this might be a 2-day piece where I like drop some extra pink on it tomorrow or something. Oh gosh, now the lights are so bright. What happens if I turn that off? Can you see it better? No, not really. It's just glossy. Going to have to deal with the gloss. This is why I shouldn't touch things. I shouldn't touch things. Yeah. Bring it on, Amazon. Show me what you got. You booping Smurfs, apparently. Boop. There you go. Boop. Smurf paint. So, yeah, I keep getting all my fingers. Yeah. All over the place. Paint that a little brighter right there. Add some brightness that strays out from the flower. We'll change this later too. I don't know why, but I wanted the leaves to be pink. Is that weird? Pink leaves. Those poor Smurfs. Thor, the god of thunder, has arrived. Indeed, indeed. The god of thunder is here. Must be your very best behavior now. I do say so. Let's change this corner to purple. That way there's like a gradient of colors happening. And then my like, I don't know, might blend out my leaf a little bit. Who cares what that is? Nobody needs to know it's a leaf. There we go. I just blended it out a little bit. And then I feel like this needs to go that way too, like. Turquoise, purple. Yeah. It's gonna be so pretty. What was that, Spotify? Spotify went and then it quit. Did you die, Spotify? Or did you reach the end? Oh. I think it reached the end. Alright, well, let's pick a different one. I wish there wasn't a glare. I wish I could get rid of the glare. It's just because the paint's so wet. I'll just have to figure out how to show it to you guys at some point without the glare. Like that. There you go. But I'm not sure what's causing the glare. Which light it is. It could be the light in front of me. You do that though, I think it's gonna be too dark. Yeah, I'm not able to see anything. Oh. I don't know how painting artists that paint do it, how they get up the perfect lighting for their setups. I don't know. Where's Rena? I got Dr. Pepper. You think they use warm lights or natural? Natural would make totally sense if you're painting during the day. It would help a lot. It would help a lot. To have natural paints. Or natural paints. Natural light! Oh my god, words! My words have completely failed me today. I'm just saying. I don't know what words are anymore. I give up with the words thing. Who needs them? Where's our boss fight? Exclamation boss, guys, if you want to join the fight. I'm gonna end up with paint on my keyboard and wonder how it happened. There. So what kind of art are you creating, Matthew? You're making art. Thor, what are you up to? You playing games? Just lurking and listening? How goes Monday in your world? That looks amazing. This color edge blend here happening is like making me super happy. Lemon! Favorite type of stream. Love seeing your creative and positive combo. Aww, positivity combined. Thank you. In a little bit, I think hanging out with Joe and Tex at the moment. Sweet. They are good peeps. Good peeps. Tell them I said hi. Thank you, Lemon. We had to do an assignment at work today. We had to pick a word for the year, and I picked optimism. And the whole leadership team picked a word and had to paint it, so it was pretty cool. And then this Thursday, those that we lead get to pick a word and paint it, so it'll be fun. And then from there, they have asked me to make a large painting with all the words. So I will probably stream that when I do all our words from the whole team. It'll be cool. Chansey! Pull catch Chansey, guys. Yeah, it's just a relaxing chill stream. I hope you enjoy all the creative vibes. And now I'm wanting another brush. Aww, I'm gonna say it wrong. Is it Cleo? Cleo? Let's say hi, but she passed out. Oh, poor baby. Yep, Cleo, yes! I keep wanting to say like Celio or something, and I'm like, no, it's gotta be Cleo. Yes, I love the name. I love the name. I love it, love it, love it. Love it. Cleo. Cleo. No, it's not. Is it Cleo or Cleo? Words. Somebody help me. Words are hard. I can't words. It's pronounced Cleo. Okay, so I have it right. E-I-L-E-O. E-I-L-E-O. E-I. It's different. E-I-E-L-O. You're gonna start saying bingo was his name-o in there or something, you know? I'm just gonna... Artist. Yeah. Cleo! I like it, I like it. Ah! I'm getting more paint on me than the canvas. I feel like that's a thing. More paint on me than the canvas. Getting all over the place. I'm happy for you guys. What have you done to spoil the new baby? I'm sure you've done things. Bought her things. Probably a pretty new collar. And all the snacks. Thor slept downstairs with her so she didn't have to sleep in the crate. Aww. Gotta get her all house trained and broken and not feeling alone and find her place in the family, huh? Get her all organized. But that was so sweet of him. And we did get a bunch of toys, but all she wants to do is play with the cat toys, of course. That's the way it's gonna go. Cat toys and the cat food. And then keeping her out of the litter box. If you're lucky, that goes well and isn't a challenge to train. See. Yeah, speaking of cat food, apparently she got into some while we were picking her up. Well, we Saw it again on the way home. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Yuck. Gross. So it did not agree with her. Poor thing. Don't eat the kitty food. It will not do you well. It's really rich. It's not made for puppers. Her little tummy didn't know what to think about that stuff. Martin. Let's see. So I gotta look at this thing for a whole year on my wall at work, so I gotta make it beautiful. Gotta make the flower beautiful. No. What? Why is it telling me notifications right now? I don't need any notifications, PC. Michigan! You making sure your fur is all nice and clean there. That's proper. It's a good idea to clean yourself every now and then. That's a good cat. Meow. Oh, booped Benjamin's Chaucy. Splashed Michigan. Let's see, who are we gonna burn? There we go. We know Mitch Monstrosity is lurking. Wine would be lovely right now. I don't have any wine in the house. Can you believe that? It's like unreal. I have some of those Simply hard Simply drinks. Simply juice drinks. Those are good. I don't have any wine. Me either. It's awful. Right? What's wrong with us, Lemon? No wine. Super sad. Maybe I'll have to fix that this weekend. I do get paid. I could go pick up some wine and resolve my problem. No one touch me. I have fragile papers. Wine? Wine date? Yes! I need a wine date. Wine and fruit baskets. Wine and fruit baskets would be lovely. Yes. Oh my god, yes. Some anime. Yeah. Beer date, guys? Yeah. Beer and wine. Yeah. Drink of choice. Are you guys watching Fruit Baskets again? Was she cute? Did they watch it? They watched it? The guys watched it? You guys watched Fruit Baskets without me? Gonna be jelly. Nah, just trying to convince them. I know, it's funny. It's so cute. And I don't cry. Or would not stop crying. That's valid though. He would at this, right? It's just so sweet. It's pure sweetness. Everybody needs some sweetness. Let's see. Let's get a little bit more of this pink back in there in the center. Make the center look a little more like the center. Add a little depth to it. And then... Oh! Gosh! Sixer! Hello, love y'all! Oh my gosh. Don't scare the artist! An artist is working with fragile papers over there at the same time. She said she's working with fragile papers. You probably made her jump as well. How are you doing? Happy accidents, right? What's it called when you're breaking up with a boy who's not your boy? Oh my god. I don't know, but I know what you mean. It's still hard. You're just like letting your friend know that you're like not interested? I don't know. You're lucky they rip. A Magby! I'll catch Magby. I don't know, Sixer, what do you call it? Give him back, hello? I'll DM it to you? Okay. I'm sending him back into the wild. Oh no. This is not the artist you're looking for. Please go back. You released him from the Pokeball. Go back to the wild. 90-day return policy. That's what you call it, a 90-day return policy. Oh my gosh. You guys are great. Magby has been caught by KimonoKat and Tex. Tex, you caught it. I'm scared to touch my phone. It's gonna have oil paint all over it. Let's see. Stop texting me. No, I will. I'll text you. I will text you right now. I'll get all in your DMs. Where's 6? There. DMs acquired. All the kisses. There, who do I kiss? I kissed myself. I love myself. Let's see. Licked Sixer. Ow. Your fur is clean now. Your fur is clean.
Run.
You run away, 6. What? You did it. You ran away. Artist says she's a whole dessert. Just so you know. Gotta get that clear. Ah! I should stop texting. I'm gonna like end up putting my phone like under the camera because she's gonna be like, what? KimonoKat on the nose. Thank you for the boobs. So I know what I'm halfway listening. What? You're halfway listening. Okay. Facts. Yeah. Right, Lemon? I know. Like right there. Right there. Stop texting her.
You're breathtaking.
Stop texting nerd. Love us. Okay, fine. You can blame artist. Thank you for the 5 biddies.
X5.
Thank you. Play cup instead of artist. Play me. I think everybody wants to message. Okay, I'm putting down my phone. I love you guys. Oh, jeez. And then you got people sending you stuff like this. Can't see it because my screen's too bright. There you go. Turn it down. Like this. Hello. Just because they know I need to get off my phone. And they're like, hello. Ah! We won't. Oh my god, guys. I'm putting it down. The phone is out of Maybe. It's out of order. Yes. Yes. Okay, just checked. Yeah, it's out of order. Thank you guys for the retweets. Oh. Not gonna talk about it, Cuff. Not gonna talk about it. Not telling you what my texts are about. Jeez. Mono, yeah? Meow. Meow, 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 meow. There we go. Ah! I'm getting glue on my arm. I have a problem. I'm gonna need, like, wet wipes just to clean myself periodically during this whole process. Because Bob Ross said so. Now check your phone. Last one, I promise. Oh my god, I'm scared. 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 You guys. I now have 3 messages. Let's see. Mac and cheese. Oh no. Ah. Terrible, terrible.
Listen!
Nice! Hi, Jeff. Oh, hey, listen, Jeff. I'm gonna have to make a Snapchat. Do it, Six. Do it. Been mining and crafting all day? Oh, Thor kisses Cuff and Jeff, apparently. That looks like a 3-way there. Ah, hippopotamus. Thingamajig. Pokecatch. Pokecatch, guys! I tried, Cuff. Alright, Sixer, what's your Snapchat? We need to know. See. I think I'm good. I'm clearing all my messages. You did. Pokecatch hippopotamus, guys. Pokecatch if you want the hippopotamus. There, somebody's gonna get a hugs. Cuff stole the hugs. Cookies. Add. At. Cuff. 500 cookies. No one caught the hippopotamus. We escaped. Ah! Oh no. Run. No one caught it, Matthew. Not even you. You licked yourself, Cuff. Bulbous Matthew on the nose. Boop. And let's see. Burnt my own butt. How do I do that? I think I'm gonna go get the wipes real quick though, because I've managed to get. I feel like I'm getting more and more paint, and I'm gonna get it like all over my mouse pad and my mouse and my phone, and I'm having issues here with the paint today. The littlest canvas, I'm getting more paint on me than when I use a big canvas. I don't know what's going on. You burnt Crowley? I want a hippopotamus for Christmas. Do it, Jeff. Sing it. Let's see. Here, who's gonna get the licks? Sixer gets the lick. I think I licked Sixer a minute ago. Lemon gets the kisses. Mwah! To Lemon. Boop to Crowley. Boop. Splashes Michigan. Psh. Oh, there's bite too, guys. I forget there's more commands. You're welcome. Bites Thor. I bit Thor for you, apparently. There's the commands. Oh. Nico. 9,000. There you go. That's the commands if you want to know what they are. And I always forget about the ship one because I don't have them all programmed in my Steam Deck or Stream Deck. I should. I shipped with myself. That sounds about right. Let's see. There we go. Alright, I'm gonna go get something to clean up. I will be right back. I'm gonna go bring back another drink. Stretch break. Yes, my power level is over 9,000. Meow, 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 meow. But thank you all for being here. I will be right back. I'm going to grab a drink and stretch. Do the same if you wish. forgot I was trying to wash my bed sheets too. So I just put them in the dryer so I actually have something to get in bed with after stream. That would be nice. And then, if I remember, I will go fluff them in a bit so they don't have wet spots. Does anybody else do that? Put your stuff in the dryer and then you go to put your sheets on your bed and they're like, oh god, pillowcase is wet. You know? It's like, no! I want to go to bed. I don't want to put them back in the dryer and wait 30, 40 more minutes. Why is Wendy's sending me notifications? They want me to buy food. You can finally give in to your late night cravings because Wendy's is open till midnight or later. I don't need Wendy's right now. How rude. Let's see. What? I literally have that same notification. Did you? Oh, I got a late night craving. Oh no, Sixer. Oh jeez, are you gonna get Snapchat and send us feet pics then? Is that what that means? You want some feet pics? Don't put it past me. You can probably ask anybody that has Snapchat with me. They've probably seen my feet at least once. Oh my. Yeah, they've probably seen my feet at least once. I gotta torture people a little bit, you know? Just saying. Alright, back to this painting, now that I'm torturing people with feet and such. I probably should actually work on the words a little bit. Or threatening people with feet, more like it. I really hope this painting dries in time to take it to work. I'll like put it out in the sun on the porch and let it bake. As long as it doesn't flood in that spot, we'll be good. Yeah, my porch flooded. Jeff has a Napa emote. Oh no, I'm getting paint on stuff again. Get a Napa. Are you jelly, Matthew? Are you jelly? Do you need that emote now? Do you need that emote in your life to complete it? I feel like that's probably the question you're asking yourself at this point. My cat is staring at me evil like. Oh no. What does your cat want? If it is staring at you in an evil way, what does the cat want? He wants food or love? Well, maybe you should help him. Maybe you should give him love or food. Poor thing. I gave him shrimp, so he's happy now. Aww. I want shrimp. I wish I was a cat. I get free shrimp for being a cat. I mean... Like, someone bump her elbow! No, it's probably got paint on it. You might not want to do that. You might not want to do that, Bio. It probably has paint on it. Just saying. Let's see. Ah. Anyway. Now I think it's time to work on the word optimism. And then I'm gonna let that dry a little bit, and then I'm probably gonna put like little yellow dots right there. So, and then we're gonna rotate this around again. And we're gonna put the wet paint brushes out of my way. Nah, I don't know, maybe not yet. Might blend them just a little bit. It's like it's never done. You just want to keep touching the paint again and again. And you're like, no, stop blending it. You're over blending it. I just want to like blend it forever and ever. And I never stop. A wild Nidorino appeared. You should make 2 of these. One that says happy, one that says lit, and one that says trees. Happy a little. I said lit. Oh my god. Happy little trees. Yes. Did you see my Bob Ross paint? Look, look. Bio, it's Bob Ross. It's like right here. Oh. No, I don't. I don't want to smoke the happy little trees. No. No, I do. I mean, I'm not into the smell. It's my issue, and allergies and all that. The smell. I can't handle the smell. I have no idea what we're talking about. Probably for the best. Probably for the best. For a dance party? Uh-oh, Sixer. What are you talking about for a dance party? No, I do. Police, open up! Yeah. It's not legal here, unless you have a prescription. Why does my phone say I have notifications? It just keeps buzzing like crazy, and I keep looking. Like every time I put it down, it goes off again. Quick, hide the stuff! What, the catnip? Right, artist? You have a cat, right? Just kidding. Anxiety, depression, paranoia, yeah. I do believe it's probably the safer alternative versus prescriptions, and who knows what the hell's in those. I mean, for anxiety, I believe it's a safer alternative. Not gonna lie about that, because I don't trust what's in all the other stuff. Who knows? I think I want this pink, but then I kind of want like a hot pink too, so I don't know. I wonder if my hot pink works. Tell people to stop messaging you, you're streaming. Right? My phone won't stop! Exactly, cat, no. We need an airplane mode emoji. Airplane mode emoji. Right. Put your phone in airplane mode, buddy. Hot pink highlight, yeah. Because the text was hot, like really pink before, and I want to make the text pink again. It's just getting the right shade of it. That's always a pain. That, and I'm being too lazy to squeeze out more white out of the paint tube, so my pink that I'm trying to make keeps turning to like a blue. Oh, never mind. White background and put the pink on top, right? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Get out of the tube paint. Don't fight me. And then I'm going to still the pink. And then maybe it's a little bit of that. Yeah, I think so. I make like a pink, white, and then maybe put the hot pink on top. I don't know. I feel like I need a good solid white before I try to paint it. Optimism. And then I have sort of this hot pink, but it doesn't blend well. And it drives me nuts. That, and I think it maybe dried out. Let me check. Kind of a hot pink hot mess, to be honest, because the lid won't stay on and it's like coming out on its own, and it's just like, I just got the Wendy's notification. We are all getting Wendy's tonight. I'm just kidding. Wendy's. Yeah, that's just a mess. Wendy's really wants our attention. Just so you guys know. They must have just extended their hours, it sounds like. Maybe they weren't open that late before. Maybe that's what they're trying to say. Welcome, welcome, welcome! It's Marcus, right? Welcome. Check in and say hi. Welcome, hi, hello. Yep, I remembered. Thanks. It's windy, hot, not hot. I haven't got a email yet. Jokes. Glad you're enjoying my Pride shirt. It's one of my favorites. Yeah. It looks good. It looks good. And then I feel like I got way too much paint, like, chunked onto this brush. Hate this feeling. And then it's like stuck all over my brush. This paint, I love the color, but it's like a bad quality of paint. Optimistic says the glass is half full. Pessimist says the glass is half empty. Realist says the glass is full, half with water and half with air. The artist says, that was my paint water. Artist, that was good. That was good. You're making that for me, Kat? I have to make it for work. I have to make it for work. It was a work assignment today, and I'm repainting it. I wasn't happy with the way it turned out, so I'm repainting it. The opportunist says, hey, while y'all were arguing about the glass, I just went and drank the water. You drank the paint water. Definitely not speaking from experience. I want one. Aww. And maybe I should make small paintings like this and find out how much it costs to ship them. Small paintings would be easier to ship and cost less than like the big ones I do. They would cost way too much to ship and to keep safe, you know? But yeah, this one in particular is for work, and then I have to do a big collage one for work that's like the whole team is doing every word. Woo! Wow, Rain's here. Hope you had a good nap, Rain. Naps are amazing and wonderful and lovely, and we all need them. Naps are lovely, just like rain. Painting, $300. Shipping and handling, $160. Right? Right? It's expensive to ship a painting. Not only how much time you put into it, you need to pay yourself properly for your hours. Waifu! You look radiant as ever. Your nails are superb. Thanks! They're actually like kind of a hot mess, I feel like. Like this one's a different color. Mainly because it started coming off and I painted over it. But they're glittery. They're pretty. And I have paint to go with it, so, you know, we have paint on my fingers too. I'll give you about tree fitty. $3.50. You need more light in your living room. Thank you, Bacon. Thank you, yeah. Thank you, Marcus. Awesome glitter, thank you. I'll tell you who always has awesome nails. Artist does. Artist always has awesome nails. Hers are always beautiful. That's become one of my new favorites. I do love. Aww. I got another shirt featuring code autistic coworker gave me a rainbow shirt. Neurodiversity on top. She said it was looking for neurodiversity superhero, but only found in aforementioned neurodiversity. Looking. Shade, how are you doing? You're still at work? Ew. Should I do commissions? I want a fish. LOL. You're gonna paint us a fish, Tex? Is that what I heard? You're gonna paint us a fish. No Loch Ness Monster here. I get mine fixed on Thursday, but I can post my current set. Yeah, do it. I bet they're beautiful. Share with us in Discord your lovely nails. Artist always has lovely, lovely nails. Nail art is an art in itself, too. You ready? Okay. Oh, it's rain. Yeah, you guys better behave now. Rain's here. You're in trouble. Just saying. I might touch this up tomorrow because I feel like it needs to dry a little bit and I want to do a little bit more to it. I'm not done yet, but I want to add. Oh, what is a Pokemon? Whatever the heck that is. Hakamo appears. I got 15 minutes left before we close. You can do it, Shade. You can do it. I've been thinking about sketching out different versions of spider people from the Spider-Verse. I saw the movie recently and it has been on my brain. Nice. Who is Ryan? I don't know. Oh no. You guys called her Ryan? Oh my god. I don't even read it as Ryan anymore. Is that bad? I totally read it as Rain. Let's see. Everybody's messaging me again. Oh no. Interruption time. I get a message that literally says interruption time. Posted the set. Okay. Let's check it out. Crowley caught the Pokemon. I didn't catch it. I wish I had. Oh my gosh. You guys are plotting. Oh my gosh. You guys are all messaging me on Snapchat. No wonder my phone was going off like crazy. Jeez. Crowley. Cool stream I found. I love you guys. I love you guys. You guys are the best. Ah! Night Lemon, bedtime for me. Hugs. Thanks for the hugs, Lemon. Sending hugs back. Get some sleep. It's really bad when I write my coworker's name as Rain. Oh no, it's like she be spam messaging, right? Right? Don't tell Jeff he's gonna join in and start spam messaging too. Oh my gosh. Moo ha 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 with every letter different. Terrible, 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 terrible. Rain! Rain! Oh, you guys are beautiful. I love you guys. I feel loved right now. I missed you guys today. Who would do that? Just evil, right? Text one letter at a time so your phone goes bzz, 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 bzz. I don't know who in the world would do that. Let's see. All right, we're gonna look at the right. My goal is to look at artist nails. Ooh, I like the look on them. Is that like a crackle look to them? I like that. Or is that like they're black? I like it. It kind of looks like a marbled effect. I like. Black nails always are nice. Yellow on one nail and then pink and then blue? Oh. Did it just like fade out or something? Looks more like a pink taco. Oh no. I'm glad that's. Yeah, I'm gonna be good. Words. I'm gonna be. No, the paint didn't show very well. Oh no! I'm getting spammed. Just say it. Optimism. I have optimism when it comes to like finishing this. I'm very optimistic about finishing this painting, but things are not working out so well. At least it's not blue waffle. I know. A pink taco is way better than a blue waffle. Just saying, you guys are so bad. Oh, Rain, are you drinking? We need to know. I hope you're not. I hope you're not drinking. No, she's not. This went downhill fast. I know, I'm just giving her a hard time. Last time she acted like this, she was drinking. Just saying. Am I not? I think the paint is looking really cool. The letters are popping out from the background a lot more than before. It's getting there. Thank you. I was just waiting for snow cones. Nice. Or I remembered how she acts when she's drinking. Yes. Yes. We remember that day very, very well. Very, very well. Yeah, they'll pop out even more, I think, if I let it dry and then add another coat. And then after I add another coat, I can like outline each letter with like a darker shading, you know? And that'll help too, but this hot pink stuff though is just it's an unusual paint to work with. It doesn't work very well. Ooh. I got wifed up twice, right? Can I be here for the next rain drinking day so I can egg it on? Yes. It may, yeah. Yeah, I'll have to keep you in the loop. I'll message you. Lemma bio. Bye, Curiosity. Bye, Curiosity Show. Hell yeah. It was a fun stream, I will admit. And I didn't go back and clip anything. I didn't. I was good. I didn't make clips. Just saying. Ooh. But make it goth. Ooh. So is this like a goth drinking date? I heard goth. I'm here. Yes. We were planning a girls' date and with some fruit baskets and some wine and maybe goth attire. Who knows? Flipster stream. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Anima, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you're doing awesome. Welcome back. It's good to see you. Goth drinking date. Absolutely. 90% of my clothes are black. Yes. Oh, now we just, yeah, this sounds like fun. It sounds like fun. It sounds like a good time.
_crow_ gifted a tier 1 sub to the _artist.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
In the channel.
Thank you so much for gifting artist a sub. Now she doesn't have to fight the commercials anymore. She'll be so happy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. No more commercials for you, artist. Sometimes you have to refresh, but yeah, you shouldn't have any more if it pops up. And then you will be saved from the evil, evil commercials. I did, sweet. Hype, hype, hype. Thanks for the hype. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thanks for the hype, guys. I'm scared to look at my phone now. Oh, no. I'm so confused. Oh, yeah. Broccoli? Oh my god, you guys are bad. I'm watching you!
Crowley _crow_ shared. X5.
Oh my gosh, those are great. Those are great. Everybody's sending me Snapchats of text or broccoli. I know, broccoli people. Broccoli humans. Thank you so much. Thank you for the 5 pennies, Crowley. Sorry, they're spamming me today. Anima, how are you doing? They're nuts. Oh my gosh, broccoli people. I should just like there. What is this? Oh, that was my own self. Oh no. I will show you. You asked for it. You asked for it. People sending me broccoli pics asked for it. Okay, just too hot to sleep. Oh no. I hate that feeling when you're just like so tired and you just want to sleep, but you can't because it's just way too hot. You would love to sleep, but it's too hot. Like, nope, not happening. It's not gonna happen today. Alright, putting the pink down. Now that I've dirtied up, like, I don't know, a bazillion brushes here. Does anybody like me just keep getting new brushes for every color? I've used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 brushes already. Six brushes. Lick? You lick Crowley? Oh, they're gonna get you. I licked Anima. That's to help cool you off. That's what that's about. It's to help cool you off. You lick Shade. Shade got the licks. And then, what's wrong, artist? What's wrong? He has those sexy socks on being on stream. I don't even know who had the socks on that night. It wasn't me. Oh, now it's Genshin telling me I need to log in. I love Genshin. I have an addiction. You know what's wrong with this chat? Pretty painting. Thank you, Blueberry. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I licked all the Pokemons. Oh no. Thank you. Genshin is life, Kit Kat. I know. They just notified me I needed to do my daily check-ins. So I'm trying. I'm trying to do my check-ins real quick. It's called multitasking. Also poke catch, so you know, we're catching Pokemon, working on a painting, doing a little bit of Genshin things, you know. Checking Snapchat every 5 seconds because my friends are spamming me. Now it's home, welcome home. See? Oh. Genshin is important, guys. Genshin. Here you go. Mini Genshin play. Where can we put the Genshin game? I can play Genshin, yeah. This is now a Genshin stream, sorry. It's Genshin Takeover. There you go. Oh, here's ADHD is working. It is, because I'm actually washing laundry and, you know, at the same time I'm streaming too. We finally closed, but I'm still stuck here. No, waiting on a ride. Typical artist. Gonna get COVID? No! Who's gonna get COVID? Gotta do my, you know, Welcome Moon check-in. Mono doing chores while streaming is just adulting, right? I needed clean bed sheets, so now even after stream I gotta go make my bed before I can go to sleep. This is gonna... I don't want to. Kill the red dots. Maybe I'll just, you know, sleep on the sofa or... I don't know. I'm probably missing all the events. They're probably gonna pass me before I get to stream Genshin again. That's sad. Yeah. Poor sad Genshin. Gotta do all the red dots. And then I can quit and get back to painting. This isn't a Genshin stream. Let's see. Not yet. No, I'm not waiting on a ride. I parked outside. I just can't leave. Oh. When I'm doing chores. How come you can't leave? Freaking Mono over here missing out on promos. I know, right? Because I can adult and paint and be a bum and be tired and who knows. I think I just got paint on my hand again. I did. I keep getting paint here on myself. And I keep wiping it off, but best I can. Rain? Welcome home, Rain. I'm jealous of the snow cone. I want one. Let's see. Let's see. I'm working on getting all the Diablo drops without owning the game. I need to finish those. I think I got Genshin ones to get to or something. You just reminded me that I forgot to do journal laundry. Do it! Do it, do it, do it. I'm doing my laundry. Come get one? Yes! I'll be right over to Kansas again. For snow cones. And Artist is gonna join us. Only enough to have work clothes though. Wafu meetup. Waifu meetup. We're gonna join what? Me and Lady Rain for snow cones. Yes, you're getting sleepy. Oh no, Jeff, is it sleepy time or work time? Or you must be off tonight. It's already 10 o'clock. I just throw some work clothes in, that's basically it. Yeah, I need to go fluff my blankets and make sure they're drying before I try to go to bed and then they're like not dry at all. Okay. That was gonna be my plan around the outer edges of those words, but I don't think it's ready. Is to make the letters shaped a little better, but I kind of want to just cheat and buy one of those paint markers and just outline stuff with a paint marker. It'd be kind of fun. I actually have a silver one. Yeah, you're off. Yay, no work for Jeff. I don't like that. See what it looks like from a distance. That's not bad. I like it better without it though, to be honest. Jeff, trade with me. I'm still at work. Why, Shade? Leave. Yeah, I did. Congrats, Rain. Congrats. You get to see your sister more. I'm happy for you. That is pretty cool. I don't like this. So I'm gonna take it back off. There we go. Yeah. I can't leave because manager is evil. Really? That's so rude. How rude of them. That's hopefully the plan, to see her more. Trying to convince her to come visit is really the goal. Sweet. That would be awesome. Family is important. See, I put like dots in here. I like it. And I just keep getting more and more paint on me. Okay. You can choose your family, you can't choose your friends. True. I love my sisters though. As different as we are, and as much as we drive each other insane, we would do anything for one another. I understand that. And if Momo was here, I can hear Momo now going, oh, Hana means family or something. I can hear Momo. Oh, Hana. There, I took all the paint off my phone. Can change family and friends. Yeah. Alright. I will be right back. I'm gonna go check on the stuff in the wash. Besides Mama Rain and Grandma Rain, Sister Rain is one of the few people and relatives I value most. Why are you painting your phone? I don't know, because people keep having me touch my phone, so I keep painting my phone. I'll be right back. I gotta go fluff the sheets in the dryer. Yep. It's looking good. I kind of just want to leave it where it's at, though. Let it dry a little bit and then figure out what I'm doing, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. What am I doing, guys? I want a little pink up here. Maybe. It's gonna blend in too much. I think it's gonna blend in too much. It's like it'll be a little pink when so how do I get the I don't know. That part to show more. I gotta come visit you sometime this year. You're gonna come see me? I imagine you're pretty close. Not gonna give away locations on stream, but I imagine you live pretty close. This is like the meetup year. I feel like I'm meeting up with everybody and saying hi to everybody. Meeting all my friends. That's really cool. I've met 4 people this year so far. Less than anyone else, at least. Probably. I have a few friends here in Florida. But not many. You don't live close enough, right? Raid would be over at least once a week or every other week to hang out and do something. We'd be chilling. Right? It would be nice. It's nice having IRL people to hang out with. It's nice. I'm just kind of like, just going with the flow on whatever I want to see on this painting right now. Adding some dimension and layers to this kind of little abstract piece with one flower. I missed that Pokemon. Eat! Taxi from Texas? Yeah, Texas from Texas, right? He's totally from Texas. Just like Michigan is totally from Michigan, right? Yeah. Still trying to figure that out. So are all your exes? I believe it. All your exes are from Texas. Is that what you're gonna sing your next karaoke stream? You're gonna sing in our next karaoke stream, right? I kind of want to take paint markers to this. What is it, Michigan? I don't know. It's a beer, apparently. Michigan Brews. Have you ever heard of it? I mean... It's a beer. Sounds good. Mm-hmm. I bet it is. Never had it, but I bet it is. But yeah. I want this to dry. And I'm really tempted that when this dries, to trace the pink in this silver paint marker I have. Like do an outline of silver on the pink. I just think it would look really cool with a paint marker. But I gotta let it dry some before I can do that. And maybe when it dries a little bit more, I might go back in and touch up the pink a little better. But I'm liking it. I think it looks pretty dang cool. I like it, I like it. Keep trying to decide whether I want to add lighter colors back in and stuff, but then I probably end up hating it. I don't know. I don't know if I like that or not. Doo-doo-doo. Looks okay, I guess. I gotta do it in more than one spot. I can't do it in just one spot or it won't look right. Isn't it Michigan where you scoop the puck from behind the net and flick it in? Ooh. You would know. You're the expert. I mean, sounds legit to me. All right. Um, okay, I'm gonna put some of this down in there. Then I think I'm gonna call it on this thing for now. Till it dries some. I just feel like I can't define too much more of it till it dries at least one day. And I can put some more things in it. I forgot, is there a way to see what Pokemon I've caught with the bot? Yes! If you look down below my stream, there is a Pokemon box, and in there you have a Pokemon bag, and in that bag, it shows you what Pokemon you've caught, and if you have duplicates, you can sell them, or you can do a wonder trade. Once every 3 hours, you can do a wonder trade, because your goal, of course, is to catch them all. So you can do a wonder trade, or you can sell them. And when you sell them, you can also see what other items are for sale down there you can buy. There's actually battling abilities that if people want to get carried away, you can battle each other and all kinds of stuff. You can use potions to help your battle, make you stronger. All that good stuff. We just stuff all our mons in a big bag around here, apparently. I mean, you don't do that? That's what I do. That's what I do. just accidentally hit something. There we go. I don't battle my mons. They are spoiled backpack gremlins. Same. Mine are spoiled backpack gremlins too. Cleaning off my brushes some. If you're wondering what I'm doing. You take a towel or something and you take your excess paint that you didn't use. Because you don't want to put all this in your cleaning solution. And you rub as much of it as you can off the brush before you even attempt to clean it. And you do that to each one, you know, wiping as much excess oil paint off as you can. This is oil paint, it's not acrylic. And then after you do that, then you take your forbidden pickle juice jar and you clean the brush. And then you wipe it again in a clean spot on your cloth. And if you want your brushes to last, you do one more step. You take your brushes and you use dish soap and you clean them thoroughly. And then if you want to make them last even longer, after you clean them with dish soap thoroughly, you spray them with hairspray to make them stiff and feel like new again, so the bristles all straighten out. So there's lots of steps to cleaning your brushes if you want to keep them really good. Thank you for the lurk, Matthew. Was that a jar of mayo? No, it was pickles. It was pickles at one time. But no, it's actually an odorless, more natural mineral spirits that isn't like as toxic to make my whole studio reek and, you know, make me high as a kite or anything, you know, in the bad kind of way. It's safer. It's safer than old mineral spirits or turpentine they would use in the old days. There's different kinds of odorless, more all-natural stuff out there you can use. Looks like a jar of pickle juice that I drink. It does. It does. I gave another streamer that idea because they're doing a fundraiser and I told them that, you know, they were gonna drink it just at random and I was like, no, save the jar of pickle juice, make it a goal for your fundraiser. And they're like, oh, that's a good idea. So it's Tifa. She was on here the other day, so she's probably gonna drink some pickle juice at some time for her fundraiser. But apparently she really loves pickle juice, so... I mean, I like pickle juice, but I'm not gonna love it to the point that I can drink a whole jar. You bit shade, Michigan? I'm a heathen, I'll gladly drink a whole jar of pickle juice. I'm gonna go lie down. Alright, Jeff, get some sleep, get some rest. I hope you feel better. Hope you have a good evening. Enjoy your night off. Alright. Boop. So yeah, I've made messes. Now I need to clean up my messes. Just put that right there. Leave those right there. All our paints with our cute little Bob Ross paint. It's the only one I have. It's the yellow. Durables. And then put the white paint away. Night, thank you for the loves and the lurks, Jeff. Still sad we didn't get to have pickle shots, right? I'm sure maybe we could look up a recipe for them. I didn't even think about that. I'm sure we could have looked up a recipe for them and made them ourselves, Rain. Why don't we think about that? We totally could have made pickle shots. Well, Colby appeared. It's not the same. It's true. It's about the experience. You don't know which pickle juice they use or anything. But yeah. Trying to get all the paint off me. I'm like a child. I paint all over me. I'll leave it right here. I'm not gonna touch any of it again. But let's see. Here. I think that's it for me for tonight though, guys. I think that's it. I'm gonna crash early. I got work tomorrow. I slept like 4 hours last night. So I didn't get much sleep. I probably look like poop. I don't even know. I haven't put myself on big screen because I've been scared to. Yeah, look at my hair. It actually looks like this because I washed it. It's like super clean and fluffy and wild right now. This is what clean hair looks like. It looks terrible. It's like all over the place. It's wild right now. It was kind of wet when I started streaming, so it's just like... But yeah, you guys have a good night, and I will catch you guys next stream. Love your faces. You look adorable. Shush. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I wonder if anybody's live. Let me look. Oh, let me look and see who is live. Oh, da, 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 da. I know somebody we can go raid tonight. Oh, yeah, you can, Crowley. I'll take a suggestion. Go for it. Go for it, go for it. If you trust them, they're streaming, they're good peeps. Go for it. Alright. Copy pasta. I'm gonna put this into my Twitch. And you're modding for her right now? Aw. Nice, nice. Let's see. Didn't she join my Discord too? I think she joined my Discord. Right, guys, also, if you're not in my Discord yet and you would like to be, feel free to join. I can be found in there some days of the week hanging out. And when we do community nights, she did recently. Yeah. Alright, this is the link if you guys want to click on it. And we're gonna go raid. Get all the raid hype ready. You know what you gotta do. You can use any emotes you want, really, but You can use whatever you want. There. But then I'm going to station raid if you want to use mine. Or the Twitch ones. Depending on whether you're a sub or not a sub. Feel free to grab and copy paste. Alright guys, as we get ready for this raid, I'm gonna roll my credits. And I will catch you guys next time. Thank you for hanging out and watching me create art. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. This will be a great surprise. Yeah, I'm excited. Guys, let's go in there with as much hype as we can. Let's do this. Copy pasta.